Hey guys, we're back with another video in my series about my DeLonghi Dinamica Plus espresso bean to cup latte machine, coffee machine, part of the larger series. Dan is bad at coffee because I make it very clear going into these videos I am a novice or a novice, and I'm not trying to learn to be a coffee expert. I just want to make some lattes, macchiatos, cappuccinos, iced coffee at home that's close enough that I don't miss going to the local coffee shop. Which brings us to today's topic, because this is a partial Q&A video, because I'm going to answer one of the questions that I got based on my very first video. And that question was, can this machine replace your local barista? And I'm going to start off right away by saying no. Because I don't think there's any situation where a machine can fully replace human interaction. And the thing about going to a local coffee shop, in addition to hopefully they're a lot more skilled than I am or than a machine is at actually making the thing, but when there's two coffee shops close to my house that I go to very regularly. One that's not close to my house that I go to whenever I get a chance, and one that's close to my job that I go to almost every week, and then another one that's relatively close to my job that I go to once in a blue moon. At all but one of those places, again, some of these places I go to multiple times a week, some of them might be once a month, if that, but at all but one of those places, they recognize me when I walk in, they know my name, I don't order the same thing every time, but they know the type of thing I like. And at least two of them, when they have new syrups or new drinks or new blends or new beans, origins, whatever you call it, they will specifically say, I want to make you this thing. I think you're going to like it. And in fact, the one near my job, there's a specific barista there who I've, like, since her and I, or they and I think they use they, them pronouns, since they and I have developed a relationship, I have never had to place an order. They are just like, I'm just like, what you got? And they'll make something different for me every week, and it's always something that I'm glad I tried. Sometimes it's something that's good enough that I would order it again. Other times it's like, okay, I don't think I'll get that again, but I'm glad I tried it. And there's nothing that I could do at home with the very best equipment that exists that replaces somebody that's an expert in the field that also knows and interacts with people and understands customer service. Because that's just a level of service that you would hope you'd get anywhere that you're a regular customer, where they know you, they know your preferences, and they know how to tailor their product to your liking. That's how you develop long-term customers, and that's how you get customers that refer other people. And as a customer, it's important to have that kind of relationship too. And I will often, when I go into a new place and it's locally owned and I start seeing the same faces, so either they're owners or managers or just people that have been there and actually are dedicated to their job as opposed to temporary workers, I try to develop a relationship. I try to chat them up a little bit, not too much, I don't want to be annoying, but I try to build relationships so that they can help me with the products that I want, and that I can help their business succeed, because if I like the business, I want it to succeed. So on that note, there's no way that a machine can replace that kind of customer service experience. But more importantly, I think what I would translate that question to is, can you make drinks that are similar enough that you don't miss going to the local barista, which is the whole point of this quest for me. And I think this is the machine that can do it. If this machine can't do it, then there's no machine at home that's going to be worth it for me, because I've made it clear I don't want to have to learn to be a barista, which is when you start getting into pro-level equipment. That's the level of stuff you have to learn. For that matter, the people that I know that work in coffee generally don't have pro-level equipment at home, and in fact, they generally don't drink fancy drinks, espresso or lattes or anything like that at home. The people I know that work in coffee, what they have at home is usually a V60 or an AeroPress, and they're doing something very simple. And that's not what I'm going for. Again, I want to at the most basic level, I want to be able to get a caramel latte when I go out, if nothing else, and I want to be able to make a good caramel latte at home. Just using the most standard flavor, vanilla latte, whatever the most basic flavor is to you. That's what I'm trying to do. So yes, I do think that this machine gets close enough that if I get the recipes right and the ratios right, I don't think I'll be able to notice the difference. And I've already, bought the same beans. The place where I buy beans from, Valentine Coffee Roasters, is the place in Milwaukee near my job that has the barista that surprises me every Sunday after church. And I buy their beans, so I should be able that takes out one variable. I generally ask each coffee shop to just use whatever kind of milk they think would taste best. Most of them say whole milk. There's one coffee shop that seems to prefer 2%. Either way, so I started buying whole milk at home to take away that variable. And then I'd say a lot of coffee shops make their own syrups. And one of my local coffee shops that's relatively close to my house, Mercy Coffee, they are where I've been going since Java Cat closed and recently reopened. They moved locations. The developers got their old location. But since they closed, I've been going mainly to Mercy Coffee because they're close by. I like their products, and they're open till 5. And they make all their own syrups, and I'm planning on buying them as soon as they're available to the public. Valentine in Milwaukee makes all their own syrups, but I don't think they're available for sale. I don't think they plan on making them for sale. But the other places that I go generally use Torani syrups, which I didn't expect to be my favorite. They do seem like the most basic, but I've started buying all the Torani products so I could eliminate that variable. So at this point, the only real difference is the machine and the recipe. And we talked about getting as close as possible with the machine in the last video. We talked about really the best thing you can do with this machine to get it to actually taste like an espresso shot that's either going to be served by itself or go in a latte at a coffee shop. You need to maximize the strength and you need to minimize the size, because what you want is the smallest, strongest dose of coffee that the machine can produce, because whatever they make at the coffee shop is going to be stronger and more concentrated than this machine can do, because it can't quite get to a pro level espresso machine. So again, we talked about that in great length in the last video. You want to go with the smallest size dose of coffee and make it the strongest function. So then the only variable left is how much coffee, how much milk, how much syrup. And for this video today, I think I've gotten it pretty well down to a science. I'm going to share with you my 2 recipes for making a small latte with this machine. Now, I've made it clear when I go to a coffee shop, I order a large one because, first of all, I don't want to have to pay twice. Second of all, I don't want to have to drink it and go back and get another one. I suppose if I was sitting there in the coffee shop, it might be a different story. I just, put it on my tab, run up a tab. But since normally I'm just going in, getting the drink, and leaving, I get the largest size. But here at home, I don't want the largest size, because if I want another one, I can just go over there and make another one. It'll be fresher, it'll be warmer, I won't have to worry about it getting cold, I won't have to worry about if I set it down and forget about it, etc. So that's one variable that's going to be different. And I've already said it's actually pretty easy to get a large latte with this machine. You use the cafe latte function, and you just add more espresso shots until you have the right amount of coffee. For me, it comes with 1 espresso shot, so I added 2 more, and with 3 total, it was the right coffee to milk ratio. But it was also overflowing out of my glass. It was a bigger latte than I had glassware for prepared. So the quest now is to figure out how to make a small one at home that has the right ratio. And so we're going to do it 2 different ways today. One way is we're going to use the Latte Macchiato function, which is a built-in function. The only thing I'm going to change about the recipe is I'm going to make the coffee stronger. And I think that gets pretty close to what I want. And it's weird that I had to go through all this stuff and circle around and get back there, because I think that's where I started when I first brought the machine home. And the other way is to simply make a double shot of espresso and then use the hot steamed milk function, and just stop it when your cup is full of milk. And I feel like that's easier and more likely to be consistent than trying to program the machine to get the right ratio, because the programming function in these machines is just not great. But anytime a barista does it, they're just going to be eyeballing it. They're just going to, they're going to put the coffee in and they're going to put milk in until the cup is full. So why can't you do the same thing with the machine? It just means you got to push one or two more buttons. Pushing buttons is not that hard. Most of us push buttons all day. So those are the two ways that we're going to demonstrate making a latte. Today we're going to go over the machine and do it. One other thing I wanted to mention first is syrup ratio. And that's a little different for everybody because some people like it sweeter than others and some coffee shops like it sweeter than others. What I'm going with right now is 2 tablespoons of syrup for every espresso shot. That's probably not sweet enough for some people. I know when I make it with just 1 espresso shot, sometimes I'll add a 1/3 spoonful of syrup. But that's the starting ratio. That's what we're starting with for all of these recipes, and that's where I would suggest starting with. You can always add more, you can't subtract. So 2 tablespoons of syrup for every 1.3 ounce or roughly 1 ounce-ish espresso shot. Keep in mind also the pure-made Torani syrups are weaker, and the whole reason I'm not using caramel is because that's just a whole nother ballgame. We'll try it with caramel down the road. Last thing I want to mention before we go over to the kitchen is for iced lattes and iced coffees, this machine does have a Truebrew over ice feature. We're going to do a separate video with the recipes for that. So, after all that talking, let's go over to the kitchen and make some lattes. Okay, so here's what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and make relatively small lattes. We're going to try to make one with 1 shot and one with 2. Again, I've said before, if you want a large latte, then use the cafe latte function and just add as many shots to it as you need. But that is too big for me to make at home, at least for now. Maybe I'll get used to it later. So we're going to try using the Latte Macchiato function, and we're going to try just making a shot of espresso and adding milk, or a double shot of espresso and adding milk. Let's see how it goes. I'm using these clear water glasses so you can see inside, even though these are not the ideal glasses for a latte. They're just the only thing I have that's clear. So we're going to start with our syrup. I just wanted the most generic syrup that I could find for this purpose, so I'm using Torani French vanilla. And we're going to start with just 2 spoonfuls, and we'll see if we need to add more. We're kind of working out the recipe. So for this first one, froth is sent to middle. As always, strength needs to be maximum, and we're going to try Latte Macchiato. I'm going to adjust this just a little bit while we are actually, let me move this over here a little bit. One of the things that I've noticed is how great it smells after this process. I've often said to my wife that we should brew at least 1 cup of coffee a day just to make the house smell good. It's cheaper than air fresheners. We're not spilling, are we? No, we're in there pretty good. Okay, let's clean it. Layers on that are pretty good. Can you see it? Let me dip the camera down just a little bit so you can see it. How do I do that on this stand? You don't really need to see the top of the machine. Looks like a tiramisu or like a Neapolitan ice cream that's in monochrome. That's pretty good, actually, just like that. If I was somebody who liked things really sweet, in fact, just for testing purposes, I'm going to add a 1/3 spoonful of syrup. I'd say 3 is perfect, but if you like things with not very sweet, go with 2. If you like things kind of the average coffee shop sweet, go with 3. And if you like things really sweet, then go with 4. I sometimes use 4 when I'm testing syrups because I really want to know how I like the syrup. Okay, so we're going to turn this back to 2. So we're going to try my other method here. And since we're going to try start out with a double shot, let's start with 4. Because I'm going to go with the idea that for each shot of coffee, you need 2 shots of syrup. I don't know if that's correct, that's just where we're starting with. So, you hit espresso times 2. Ah, stop. I forgot to do strength. See? This is why we'll edit that in post. I've said before how important it is to set the strongest coffee, so we're going to try that again. Strength, maximum. Espresso times 2. And yes, when I often forget to do the strength thing, and I can taste the difference. It just doesn't taste as flavorful. Okay, so what we should have is a double shot and essentially a double shot of syrup. And so my new theory for making a relatively small latte at home is now that we've done that, we're just going to go to hot milk, and we're just going to stop it when we get close to the top of the glass. That looks like enough. Let's just stop it there. Still very frothy. Almost looks like very bad latte art. That's not bad. Let me just compare the two. Well, I mean, obviously that one's got a little bit more coffee to milk ratio, because I did go with 2 shots, but I did also go with a little bit more milk, so it's not exactly a 2-to-1 ratio. So, I think that's how I'm going to make my lattes at home for now. I will do some more experimenting, but I think that's easier than trying to program the exact amount of coffee and milk that I want. I just have to remember not to forget to adjust the strength. The next thing I'm going to mess with, and I'm not going to do it tonight, the next thing we're going to mess with is this Truebrew over ice, because I understand that that exists specifically for making iced coffee, and I like iced coffee, but I normally do an iced latte, which again is espresso. So how close does that taste to espresso? Am I better off just doing espresso shots over ice and then adding milk, which is what I've been doing. So we'll do another video on that. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great day. Please don't forget to go to patreon.com/dspiffy, where you can find out more about all the cool stuff we do here. You can find out more about our faux sponsors, including Fanstick, Lightstick, Taco Burrito Mexico, Wrecker Sheep, the Good Manufacturing Company, A1220 LLC, and Florida Fanstick. So one of the running jokes is that I sign off all my videos by telling you to buy Fanstick. Thanks for watching.